Cheyenne's #1 news talk radio station. You're in tune with the Weekend in Wyoming program. My name is Doug Randall, and I'm speaking with Kelly Wright with the Sustained Shopping Initiative. Do I have that title right?
Sustainable Shopping Initiative.
Sustainable, okay. What is that, first of all?
It's a single-use plastic bag ban. It's not a tax, it's a fee, and we don't know what the amount will be. Some communities go 10 cents all the way up to 20 cents. So if someone forgets their reusables, they are charged for either a paper bag, which is post-consumer recycled paper, or a reusable bag.
Okay, and you have submitted an ordinance that's still under review from the city attorney.
That's correct.
But in a nutshell, what does the ordinance do?
So the ordinance, so if a person forgets the bag, like I said, when they go through the checkout, they are given the option to purchase a reusable or paper bag. The whole model is to basically educate the person and get them in the habit of bringing a reusable. It's not to penalize anybody. It's not a tax. The fees will stay with the store. So the store can turn around and actually provide reusables to the consumer. And then it's just getting people used to just bringing their own and saving those plastic bags. They're everywhere. If you look at, I went to the paper and did an interview. They had 3 plastic bags hanging off their tree in their front courtyard.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Just
Things
everywhere.
blow around, particularly in Cheyenne with all of our wind. You see them on the trees, on the greenway, in people's yards.
Right.
And one of the problems is they're not biodegradable. Is that right?
They are not. They just break down. They continue to break down. They photodegrade with the help of the sun into tiny little pieces. Those little pieces get in our soil. They get in our water. They're in our air, in our basically everywhere, our food chain. A fish eats a little piece of microplastic. You eat that fish, you've eaten that plastic.
I see things on Facebook and online about turtles and various sea creatures that get caught up in plastic pack containers, whatever you want to call it, grow around them. It gets some rather unfortunate biological implications from all of this.
Right, and people, I know, a lot of people don't understand the ties between the inlands, Wyoming, and the ocean. Yes, we care about those animals, sea creatures in the ocean. What people don't realize is we're a headwater state. What we do here in the state of Wyoming does impact the ocean downstream. Being a headwater state, when it snows and rains, the majority of that does come from the ocean. And as that as the snow melts off, it hits those streams, creeks, and it makes its way to both the Pacific and the Atlantic via the Gulf of Mexico.
Because we're on the Continental Divide here.
Exactly. Yep.
Now, your ordinance would have a 1-year transition period. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's what we're proposing. So say this ordinance goes through, City Council passes it. We're not going to, say, okay, tomorrow this is happening. We still need to educate the stores. We need to educate the community. That transition period, the stores are going to have inventory of plastic bags that they need to get through. So it'll be implemented. It could be 6 months, it could be a year for that transition to occur. It would be up to the City Council.
But when it did happen, you could no longer use one-time use plastic bags. Would that just apply to grocery stores or merchants across the spectrum?
Typically the big box stores, say they have a 6-month window to get through their inventory or a year. The smaller ones, the smaller stores, there would be an extension.
Okay.
So usually it's like 6 months for the big chain stores and then like a year for the smaller stores, or it could be a year for the big box and then 2 years for the smaller stores.
But it's not just strictly for grocery stores, even though that's what people tend to think of.
It'll be grocery stores. There'll be the small stores here in town, and I've been going around talking to some of the merchants here downtown, and I've had 100% backing on this so far.
And by the way, you're not a Californian.
I am not.
Oh, it's important to get that out there.
So people I've actually looked at things online, and people are like, she's from California. I researched her. She lived in California. She lived in Okinawa. And I said, yeah, part of the Marine Corps, you have to actually move to those places. My former husband was in the Marine Corps, so we moved a little bit. My family, my grandfather moved here after World War II with the railroad. We've been here and been part of the community. I graduated from East High School way back when. I love Cheyenne. My family's here still, my kids, and I love it. It's home.
Now, you do have a couple events coming up, including one tonight.
Yeah, so tonight, it's kind of fun. So we've been paying West Edge is a marketing firm here in town to help us with our marketing function to get out there and educate the community on this. So this is a fundraiser. It's called the Mermaid and Pirate basically it's a costume contest tonight, and we'll have food, drinks, door prizes, a costume party competition on the costumes. It starts at 6 o'clock at Asher's upstairs.
Okay, and you also have a film coming up here actually in about 4 weeks.
Right, at the end of February, on February 29th, in the Cottonwood Room at 1:30, we're having a film screening of Baggett. And after that, we will have a panel of people, experts in the field, that will take questions from the audience to talk about the single-use plastic bag ban and how it's worked in other places, how it's worked in other stores. You just come and watch the film. It's an entertaining film, very educational, and then we'll take your questions.
Okay, and again, I'm speaking with Kelly Wright with the Sustainable, got the title right,
You
this
got
right?
it.
Shopping Initiative, and what they're working on basically is a local ordinance that will probably soon be introduced in the Cheyenne City Council. It's been submitted to the city attorney for his review. That would basically get rid of one-time use plastic bags, I guess not just in grocery stores, but in local stores in general.
Correct.
And you want to do this because these bags are an environmental hazard in a nutshell.
They are, and I can say too, I know we're a big, mineral state, oil state, fossil fuel state, but what they're doing is taking these non-reusables out of the ground, making these bags, and then the lifespan of a bag is typically 12 minutes. So we're taking these precious fossil fuels out of the ground and throwing them away 12 minutes later.
And then they get into the ecosystem, they get into the ocean in many cases, and cause a lot of problems.
Exactly.
The Weekend in Wyoming program. Again, I'm speaking with Kelly Wright with the Sustainable Shopping Initiative here in Cheyenne. They're working to get a ban on one-time plastic shopping bags, and this would be a gradual process, maybe a year and a half transition period if in fact it does become law. It's something that will be put forward to the Cheyenne City Council here in the near future, currently under review, an ordinance you wrote and submitted to City Attorney Michael O'Donnell. So I'm going to hit a couple things here. First of all, a lot of people feel like this is Wyoming, you can't tell me what to do. How would you respond to that?
Well, when I think of seatbelts, I think of car seats. It comes down to safety and health. This is a health issue. I mean, it's in our water. It's in us right now. If I took stool samples, everybody here, we have plastic in us. They actually don't know what the long-term effects of this plastic is. This is just one simple step. Let's do something to make this world cleaner and think about our children's health, their future. What's the world going to look like in 50 years? We don't know. They have linked it to hormonal and reproductive issues in males. I can say that for sure. Now,
none of us sit in non-plastic bags, presumably, so how does it get into our system?
So in our water, I mean, basically, when these things break down in the environment, they're getting into our water and our food chain, so we're consuming the water and food. So we're getting it that way, and we're actually breathing it in. It's in our air, the microfibers.
No, I've also, in fact, I saw a comment in this regard on Facebook today. Somebody said, don't these people have anything better to worry about? How would you respond to that?
Well, I have a fond love for our world. I have grandkids. I just look at them. And I am a scuba diver, and I see it firsthand in the ocean. And I see it just flopping around on our fence lines here and around town and the whole state. I do have other things to worry about, but this is forefront. This is something I can do for my kids and my grandkids and be a role model for other people. I'm part of the Wyoming Inland Ocean Coalition, the Wyoming chapter, and we are an inland movement. Even though the ocean's not in our backyard, the ocean belongs to all of us, and we all need to think about that. Again, being the headwater state, we need to take care of our water in-state and that water cycle. And it's such a simple thing that we all can do. Just bring your reusable bags. This will not affect the bags that you cover your produce in or your meats in. So if you need a dog poop bag, there you go. You got those.
And you said you actually hear about that a lot.
I do. People are like, how am I going to pick up my dog poop? I'm like, well, there are other ways you can do that. There are actually bags out there specifically for dog poop that break down in the environment, and they're plant-based. So they're not going to hurt the environment. And again, the other bags that you use for your produce or whatnot, you can sure use those for your dog poop or your newspaper bags. So.
This is a tricky question, and because it involves a large number, you may not have an answer, but maybe you can ballpark it. How much plastic are we putting into the environment each year?
I can break it down into bags.
Okay.
Each individual, on average, basically uses 500 bags a year.
Okay.
They save 500 trillion in the whole U.S. on average. So if you save 500 trillion bags, single-use bags that last 12 minutes, I mean, you can open your cabinet and see how many bags are stuffed underneath there. Take that and consider that our average rate of recycling these bags is 1% or less. Where are those other bags going? I know, talking to the sanitation department, these bags are flying out, like I said. They're picking them up, putting them back in the landfill, and they're blowing right back out. $200 a day, they're saying. Our taxpayer money is going to pick up these bags and other trash. I mean, it's like, geez, our taxpayer money should go somewhere else.
Well, and anyone who's spent any time in Cheyenne, really, with the wind we have, you see these things everywhere. They blow into people's yards. They blow into the streets. They blow into alleys. They're pretty much ever present and all present.
Exactly. And also talking to the landfill, they say the cattle have they don't know why. Cattle really like these plastic bags. They'll choose that over anything else, is what I was told.
So that's another way they get into our system then, apparently.
Yes, I guess. So I guess these cattle, they love the plastic bags as well. So yeah, they break down, and if they don't get obstructed, they get into their digestive process, and I'm assuming into their meat. So yeah, you might be consuming it that way as well.
Is this going to add cost to the average grocery bill, for example?
Okay, we were kind of breaking that down. Right now the stores are already paying for these bags, right?
Right.
So they're paying between 2 and 5 cents a bag. How are they offsetting these costs? They have to raise their prices in store. So what we're hoping is by having, if you have to pay for these bags instead of the store, maybe they can lower the prices a little bit, but also take that money and provide you with reusables. So it's a win-win.
So you think the cost would be negligible to the average shopper then?
Exactly, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, if you think if they charge 10 cents a bag and you use 3 bags, that's 30 cents. How many times do you go to in a week? So you might spend $1 a week.
Okay, and again, I'm speaking with Kelly Wright with the Sustainable Shopping Initiative here in Cheyenne. We are taking phone calls. If anybody has any questions or comments, 632-6500, 632-3323. I'm going to toss some things out that Wyoming people say. This sounds like another one of those Coloradan tree-hugging things. They're trying to make us like Colorado, leave us alone. You hear that.
Yeah. We're a nonpartisan. We have people from both sides. I talk to ranchers. They're like, I'm so tired of these plastic bags everywhere. I'm an angler. I love fishing. I don't want to see the plastic hanging off the shrubs as I'm trying to fly fish, It's everywhere, so.
Looks like we have a caller, and good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, my name's John, and been listening to you guys, and I just got a few questions on the process. Correct me where I'm wrong, and please explain to me. It sounds like Kelly Wright is like an environmental activist, and I'm wondering, as a citizen of Cheyenne, how is it that her pet project, who's paying for it, gets to the city council, and people pay for this to come to a vote, whereas a citizen might want their issues to come in to vote. So I'm basically asking, where's the money coming from and who's backing this? Because she did say she was with the Ocean Institute, and I'm wondering where this is all coming down the line from, and how come she has an open front door to get this on the vote.
Kelly?
Hi, John. Thank you for your call. I wouldn't call myself an activist. I'm with the Wyoming. It's a nonprofit. So we talk about watershed health. I get in the schools and just talk to kids about their geography. Where's the water come from? What are their impacts in state and how that affects ocean health? But so what I did is about a year ago, I brought this forward. I started talking to the councilman. All you have to do is email them or call them and start talking about it. It's taken me a year. basically the money for this, again, I'm a nonprofit, so right now I'm paying out of pocket. And I am doing a fundraiser tonight to help offset those expenses. But it doesn't cost you any money to talk to your city councilman. It doesn't cost you any money to email them and talk about it. You may have to schedule a meeting, go have a coffee with them, but that's about it.
So how did it get from that point to where it gets on the agenda of the city council to regulate a new law like this?
So what you do is when you sit with your city councilman, if it's something that they are willing to sponsor, you have to have a sponsor. So I have Brian Cook, who initially sponsored this, and then Jeff White, he's co-sponsoring it.
Brian Cook and Jeff White, you say?
That's correct.
Okay.
And so you need so if you have an initiative out there that you're passionate about, talk to your city councilman, see if you can get a sponsor on board, whoever's in your district, talk to them, and see if they're willing to sponsor it. It's taken me a year to talk to them and provide them with the data, just kind of feeling the passion about, and then they start taking notice of the issue when they start driving around town. They see the plastic everywhere. So yeah.
If I may interrupt you, I strongly disagree with you. I love the plastic bags. I use them a lot. I use them at home. I use them for doing my own trash and cleaning. They come in real handy. I also object to the nanny state telling me what and where to do it, where I see people out of their own free will and choice using reusable bags, and even myself, if I can, I won't use a bag. But a lot of times I love the bags and I use the bags. So I really object to it being a nanny state telling people what to do with the bags. But that is my opinion, and I respect the way you're going about it. I do concerned about our city council and stuff doing this nanny state laws and stuff.
Well, you're not the only one that feels that way, John, and I respect your opinion on this. I think I look at it and think about these microplastics getting in our food and our water, and it's in our soil. It's like, what is it doing to our health long term when there's such an easy way to go about bringing your own? You can bring a box. You go to Sam's Club. If you're a Sam's Club member, you can go there. You're not going to get a bag. If you go to Natural Grocers, you're not going to get a bag. And you just get used to changing your shopping, your habits.
And that's your opinion. And I don't agree with that necessarily.
That's fine. Everyone has their own opinion.
And I do respect your opinion on it.
Okay, well, thank you, John.
Thanks for the call, John. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
AM 650 KGAB. What I really like about that call, you guys had a nice positive dialogue and nobody got rude and everybody stated their opinion, and that's really what we hope for in our callers. Right. And not everybody's going to agree with you.
Oh, I expect that, and I would like, if you don't agree with me, I want to hear why you don't agree with me, because I want to educate myself and see it from your perspective.
Do you hear a lot of comments about, like he said, the nanny state and that sort of thing?
That's the first time I've heard that. Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you do understand it kind of gets back to what we chatted about earlier, people feeling like the government's micromanaging their lives, that sort of thing.
And I have to think of our children, not just my children. I work with children all the time, and I am an advocate for the children that don't have a voice. Teaching in the elementary, junior high, and high schools, being a guest speaker, kids are very passionate about this. We've already screwed up the world pollution-wise, and this is our opportunity to do better.
Now, he did ask about funding. Are you being funded from out of state or anything like that?
I only do my own fundraising. So, again, tonight we have that function tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm just raising money. I do take donations. If people are passionate about this, may give $50 to the Wyoming Inland Ocean Coalition. It's basically a nonprofit. I'm not getting paid for what I'm doing either. I work full-time doing this, and I get paid $0. It's just something I'm very passionate about.
So you're not paid by Michael Bloomberg or George Soros or whomever people might look at.
Or you, Doug.
But you got involved with this because you went to the ocean because you do some scuba diving and you saw a problem. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And I did a course called Project Aware. It just educates everyone that takes this course. It was my master's scuba level. And I took this course. I ended up being the only student. And the dive master said, Kelly, you're so passionate about this. You need to go home and do something, make a difference in Wyoming. And he goes, and I'm going to hold you to this. You need to report back to me in March. And this was last year, so I started the Inland Ocean Coalition or the Wyoming chapter. And I just love what I'm doing.
Looks like we have another caller. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, this is Judy.
Hey, Judy.
Kathy, I have a basic disagreement with one of your opening statements, if I may. I don't disagree with your overall health issue, and as someone who's been carrying bags to grocery stores for years, I have no issue with that. However, this is not, if the city council decides to do this through ordinance, it is not a fee, it is a tax, because then it becomes compulsory after a while and for the beginning part. And the only reason people say fee instead of a tax is people don't like taxes, but they're okay with fees because they think there's a difference.
I have to disagree with you, Judy. I hate to interrupt you.
Well, let me finish my thought,
sorry.
and then you can interrupt all you want. A fee is used to create and change behavior, and it is compulsory at the beginning, and it may change the behavior, but in my mind, this is where you're going to come up against a big problem. I would be happy if the city of Cheyenne, the people, were allowed to vote on this issue. You know, put it on a major ballot, like the one that's coming up, then propose what you wish. But fees belong to telephone companies, and they give us a fee and tell us we're paying for deaf people. Most people don't disagree with this. But all I'm saying is I would not use that argument, because I learned a long time ago that fee is just a fancy way of saying this is what we're going to do until you change your behavior, and I do object to that. But go ahead.
You have some good points there.
Judy's a former city councilwoman.
Nice,
so.
Judy.
No, that's Judy Case.
Oh, I thought you were Judy. I apologize. I thought you were Judy Case. My apologies.
No, she and I are friends, and she's one of the many Judys I know. But in this case, nope, I'm my own person.
Okay.
So.
Sorry about that. Kelly, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, and as no, you called me Kathy. It's Kelly, but that's okay. No, those K names,
Kathy
you know.
was earlier. Yeah.
So the reason we call it a fee, and this is a national thing that has been done from city to state, and we call it a fee nationwide because we're doing this in states and cities, is the store retains the fee. Now, if some ordinances call for half of that to go to the city to help with like the recycling program and whatnot, we decided not to do that route because then it would be considered a tax. Because it stays with the store is considered a fee, and that's just what we use. The terminology is basically nationwide. That's what we've been using. So it's a fee if it stays with the store.
Okay, to me that's a Granny Smith apple versus a red delicious apple,
right.
Because I take objection to forcing people to change their behavior in an involuntary fashion, especially in this day and age when there are so many ways to get your ideas out, which you are very good at. I am, like I say, overall, I don't necessarily have an objection to what you're doing. And another thing that I always worry about, especially in Cheyenne, is the people that will be hit hardest by this are the ones that have the least amount of money to pay.
Judy, I really hate to interrupt, but we're down to 12 seconds left.
Okay.
I'm going to have to cut you off. Thanks for the call.
Oh, and I want to point out that anyone that's on food stamps or if they hit a certain criteria it wouldn't apply to them.